Welcome to the Master Builders Podcast, the podcast where we discuss issues affecting the building industry. It's the podcast by Master Builders for Master Builders. I'm your host, Max Rafferty, and today I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Robert Shaw. Hey, Robert, how you going?
Yeah, morning, Max. Another beautiful day.
Anything exciting happening in your world?
Yeah, Max, I guess since we last talked, I guess it's trying to do business as normal, but at the same time making adjustments to COVID-19 as we understand more about it. So that's an ongoing thing that we live with day to day now.
When I say Metricon, what springs to mind?
Metricon, yeah, I know Mario and over the years, and Metricon's my understanding is a large residential builder on the East Coast. I believe they operate in 4 states. I think it's 4 or 5, South Australia, Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland, to my knowledge. But, they're one of our, I think, top 2 or 3, or even could possibly be the number 1 residential builder in the country at the moment.
Well, when I think of Metricon, I think of this massive company that employs huge amounts of people, has massive influence upon supply chains, and keeps a whole bunch of small businesses and probably quite large businesses employed, and the fact that they are building 5,000 homes a year and how absolutely massive that is. There's states and territories in Australia that don't do half that. So the fact that Metricon is doing twice as much as some states and territories in Australia is mind-boggling. And I wonder how a business the size of Metricon deals with COVID-19, especially compared to someone like Mark Little, who's a small business, and when he wants to clamp down, he clamps his business down. But you can't do that with a business like Metricon. You can't have one person doing it all. You can't do that with a business the size of Metricon.
Yes, Max, it's an interesting one, although I would be keen to see, but I would imagine that the similar principles do apply regardless of size. And the biggest thing that I've picked up on during this last 6 weeks is just being aware, and certainly being part of the Master Builders family gives you a great, leverage to understand what other people are doing, to get a little bit of a cross-check on what you should be doing, what works, what doesn't work. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Mario's got to say. So let's have a listen.
Yeah, let's not get ahead of ourselves, Robert. We haven't told everyone who we're talking to. And on that note, we are actually speaking with Mario Biasin, who's the CEO of Metricon. In this interview, Mario and I discuss some of the practical things that Metricon have been doing during the COVID-19 pandemic. We speak about everything from working on site to working with clients, all the way through to digital marketing and keeping sales going. But I also took the opportunity to speak with Mario about how he's grown Metricon from a small residential home builder into the juggernaut that we all know today. So let's get to my interview with Mario. Mario, if I could just get you to introduce yourself, that would be fantastic for the audience.
I'm Mario Baisin. I'm the Chief Executive and one of the founders of Metricon Homes. Metricon is Australia's largest residential volume builder and builds around 5,000 homes per annum across the eastern seaboard. I've had more than 45 years experience in the industry, and I'm certainly passionate about the innovation and evolution of the residential home construction.
Have you always been in the building industry?
I commenced in the building industry. It was in 1971. Prior to that, I worked in the IT section of the old Melbourne and Metropolitan Board of Works. That was from memory, from 1969 to 1971.
Awesome. And when you got into the construction industry, was it into residential? Have you always been into residential is where I'm going with this?
In 1971, I joined a company called Monmere Properties as an accountant. Monmere Properties was a publicly listed company that was involved in, at that time, speculative home building, land development, and small-scale commercial and retail development.
Excellent. And I mean, Metricon, people in the construction industry, we all know the name. When did Metricon come into your world?
Yeah, Metricon was started in February 1976, a long time ago now. Yeah, February 1976. George Klein and myself were involved in the beginning, together with people from what was then a company called Moore Williams and Son.
And and Metricon has always been in residential construction. I guess what I'm getting at is the Metricon we know today is obviously a big outfit. Did you guys know you were always going to be like this?
Yeah, Metricon started as a home builder. The first homes we built were for a company that at that time was called Heine Brothers, and it was for their investment portfolio. That was in Springvale. And the sixth home that we built was in a joint venture with the late Ron Rado and the Standard Roads Group, and that was on a development that he had on the corner of Stud Road and Heatherton Road in Dandenong. So we started as a home builder, predominantly as a speculative home builder, and we dabbled then in some land development, mainly as a way to ensure that we had land supply. So we did some small developments in Ringwood, Clayton, and then continued land development, but we've separated land development away from Metricon Homes. Metricon Homes is purely now a home building company, and our land development activities are run through a business called Newland Developments.
What states are you guys operating in?
Okay, we operate in the eastern states, in South Australia, throughout Victoria, including regional Victoria, in New South Wales and in Queensland. So in Queensland we go up as far as just north of the Sunshine Coast, and in New South Wales we go up the Hunter Valley and down to the Illawarra.
Okay, I'd like to shift gears a little bit now. Can you tell us how your business has been affected by the current COVID-19 pandemic?
Yeah, well, it's been a roller coaster ride, to say the least, because probably 3 weeks ago, our primary concern was being able to continue to work on site. And I've got to thank the industry bodies that provided advocacy on our behalf, and that is especially Rebecca Carson from the Master Builders, the HIA and the UDIA. Now, fortunately, we've been able to adhere to the social distancing requirements and have been able to continue to work on site. So the productivity on site has actually improved. I think the reason for that is that the trades haven't got anything else to really do. There's no football, they can't play golf, they can't go fishing. So I think they're certainly more active out on site than what they would be under normal circumstances. So that's been a positive.
You're finding that trades are really productive at the moment?
They're very focused at the moment. The other aspect was that because I've got some minor business interests, but still relatives in Italy, and I could see what was happening there, and I didn't expect this COVID-19 to have the effect that it's had all around the world. But what we did do was we planned to be able to work off-site. And so we had trials probably the week leading up to the March 13th conference, and we've been really working off-site now for, I think this would be the 5th week, and that's worked extremely successfully, and I really want to thank our IT division for enabling us to be able to work so effectively off-site, and certainly all of our staff and management, and especially our staff.
You were talking about how you've managed to transition your staff to working remotely. I was wondering if you might be able to. Now, I'm assuming you're talking about your office staff, and what kind of how many office staff do you have?
Yeah, well, in total, we employ about 1,800 people. There'd be at least half, maybe more than that, probably 1,000 would be office staff, and of the office staff, there's at least 90% of those that are working from home or working remotely. And again, I just want to stress that I really want to thank all of the staff for their efforts and certainly the support that they've had from our IT department.
Now, I imagine you've got a number of display homes. Matter of fact, I know you do because I had a little look at them this morning. How are you managing those?
We have about 200 display homes across the eastern seaboard, and we're managing them at the moment by appointment only. So they were closed for just open for inspection, general inspection, 2-3 weeks ago. So they've been operating by appointment only, and we're ensuring that we have the safety of our staff first and foremost. That's prominent, and also for our customers. So we have sanitisers at every display home, and although it has had an impact on our sales, but I'm pleased to say that we're learning a new way of doing business by appointment only. The impact has been that obviously our attendances are down dramatically. You could say they're probably down about 80%. But having said that, the people that are coming for appointments are committed buyers, we believe. So there's a better chance of making a sale in seeing 2 people or 3 people. You might make 2 sales rather than seeing 100 people and perhaps making 2 sales, as been the case in the past. But the numbers are down dramatically, which will have an impact on future business, future site starts.
Right. So your on-site sales vetting, a little bit of that work's being done by COVID-19, even though the overall numbers are down a little.
Yeah, our site starts, for the next probably 3 months won't be dramatically impacted, because they're really based on sales that we made last year and at the beginning of this year. The concern is what will happen probably, say, July, August, September, if confidence doesn't come back into the marketplace. Now, I believe that there will be some stimulus by both federal and state government, but we've just got to wait to see what that stimulus will be, what form it'll take, whether it'll be an addition to the first home owner scheme or something else. But we certainly believe that there will be some stimulus, and I do know that all of the industry bodies, the Master Builders Association, are really pressing government and informing government of the need for some stimulus package. So the difficulty that we'll face is once we work through what we call our bins. But having said that, I think we're in a position whereby we could see ourselves working on site at the same levels probably for the rest of this year. Having said that, the side starts, unless sales pick up, will start to slow down, come the beginning of the next calendar year.
I've noticed that Metricon has a really strong online presence, and that not only can you get on there and click on housing options and see those housing options, but you can also take virtual tours of houses, I noticed. And do you think that's good? That sort of sales and marketing at this point in time is going to be really beneficial for you, where it's difficult for people to get on site, or it's not as easy to get on site?
Yeah, certainly. The question of, say, a virtual tour and dealing, online, for example, even signing of documents with e-document signings. We were seeing that, and we were investing quite heavily in that area, and we certainly believe that it's the future. But what has happened as a result of COVID-19, it's now been supercharged, and I think there'll be a lot of development, certainly in our company, but in the industry as a whole. So I think things will change in the way that we transact business and the way that we make sales in the future, and there'll be a greater online presence. Having said that, I still believe that people. There are a number of people that would want to go and have a look at a home and touch it and feel it. So I don't see that the online developments will mean that we won't require display homes in the immediate future. The longer term, I'm not so sure about, but certainly in the immediate future, I think there will definitely be a continuing need for display homes. But I believe that with a better platforms and information being provided online for our customers, they'll be better prepared when they even do go to visit our display homes or visit our studios.
I'm hearing a lot about this new world we're living in, and one of the questions I'm always asking myself is, and you referenced it before or referred to it before, is, with this new world, once we're over COVID-19 and the risk drops back and we move back to whatever the new normal is, do you have things that are coming out of your reaction within Metricon, the reaction to COVID-19, that you think you'll continue doing?
Yeah, well, what we've learned, certainly we're developing an online digital presence to help better service our customers and make the experience a more seamless one. But what has come out is that the ability to be able to work from home. And I think that the changes that will occur in the future is that we'll certainly be investigating and accommodating for staff that do and need to work from home. And I think that that'll be a good thing. It's something that has actually surprised me at how efficiently we've been able to operate over the last, now into the fifth week. So there'll be, a major immediate change that will occur in the future.
So if I read between the lines, what you're telling me is that the working from home for the staff that hasn't affected productivity, and in some instances you can see some benefits in that.
Yeah, certainly to date, I think we have seen some benefit, but, I've got to realise that, even staff that are working from home, if they haven't got children there, they're not distracted, and there's not much else for them to do. They can't go play golf, go fishing, go to the theatre, go out to restaurants. So they've been very, very productive. But I think that would continue into the future. And what we may find is working from home doesn't suit everybody. There are some people that really need to be in the office. But I believe that there could be a hybrid situation in the future where maybe, some half of the staff work from home, and other staff come in 2 or 3 days a week into the office. So I'm really excited about what the future can bring for the efficiency of Metricon, but also more importantly for the well-being of everybody that works for Metricon.
Just changing direction a little bit, have you had any issues with suppliers?
Today we've had no issues, nothing out of the ordinary issues with suppliers. The supply chain for us hasn't been broken. We've even, as a result of, say, COVID-19, we're trying to work a little bit more at weekends because our trades are keen to be working because, as I said previously, they haven't got much else to do. So with our suppliers, we've arranged for deliveries, some deliveries on Saturday mornings or also late Friday nights to enable us to work and be more efficient out on site. So we haven't had any supply issues at all at this stage, and we're not foreseeing any. There's no indications to us that there will be some in the immediate future.
And have you had many conversations with your subcontractors to, I imagine you guys are in close contact with your subcontractors, but are you having to have any special conversations with them around COVID-19 and continuation of work, things like that?
Yeah, look, obviously there was a health concern, and what we did was we ensured that we were able to spread our trades out on site, hence, how important it was for us to be able to work, say, 6 or 7 days a week, because we didn't want to be too many people, too many trades on site. We wanted to ensure that we were able to practice the social distancing that was required. We've got, with our site managers, we have sanitisers that we've provided. In our display homes, we have sanitisers. So, first and foremost, the health of everybody that works with and for Metricon is of the utmost importance, and we want to ensure that we give all of the best working conditions that we can. But we haven't at this stage experienced any major concerns out on site, and we've been under COVID-19 now for about 4 or 5 weeks, so it's been working quite well.
And communication with existing and new clients, I guess if we can start with existing first, people must be nervous about what's happening with their builds at this point in time. How have you been addressing that and communicating with your current clients?
Well, we've been communicating to assure them that Metricon's been around for 44 odd years, 45 years coming up, and that they can be certainly assured that one will complete their job. This is for people that are currently under construction, and they can see that we report to them on the progress of their homes, and in fact I think they'd be very, very pleased with what's happening on site. In relation to people that have contracted with us or have deposited with us, we give the same assurance. And what we've found, the cancellations to us is there hasn't really been anything abnormal, even after the COVID-19 restrictions on jobs, on sales that we'd already made. But what we've noticed is we've had some requests of people, of consumers asking us if they could defer the commencement of the construction of the home, not cancel, but just defer it for a month or two until perhaps they can see what is going to happen in the overall economy. Perhaps if they've got concerns about their own employment. So that's the current position. But we're ensuring or reassuring our customers that for us, it's not business as usual. It can't be business as usual. But in fact, we're probably more efficient out on site. And I think we're just as efficient, or maybe even more efficient pre-site as well.
You guys are obviously super successful, and there'll be other builders listening to this who will be looking at companies like Metricon and thinking, gosh, I'd like to go somewhere like that. To those other builders listening, if you had one piece of advice you'd like to give them about how to get through COVID-19, what would it be?
I think what's important in difficult times like this is that you and what we did, we had so-called crisis meetings right from the beginning, and we were meeting every single day, and in fact at 5 o'clock every night we had what was an inner cabinet meeting, if you like, and dealing with the problems that were occurring, and they were occurring at a speed that I've never experienced in the 45 years or so that I've been in this business. And what's really important is one, to be transparent with your staff as to what is happening, and with your customers, and two, to be able to plan for the unexpected. And really, this is we were planning for the unexpected. We didn't believe that we'd experience a lockdown like we had here in Australia, but we were preparing for it 1 or 2 weeks beforehand. I think the important thing in business is to try to be prepared, really, especially in times that we're experiencing at the moment, for the unexpected.
Awesome. And so you were talking about, I guess, an internal cabinet meeting. If I'm a small builder who doesn't have the same sort of management structure of people to talk to, what do you reckon, what would you do if you weren't so big? If you were a small family business, how do you reckon you'd do that?
Well, if I was a small family business, I'd certainly involve all of my family in the decision making, but then also lean on my financial advisors. I mean, all small businesses have accountants and financial advisors and legal advisors, and I think at times like this, they should be leaning on those. But also, importantly, avail themselves of the services, for example, of the Master Builders Association, who I think do just a tremendous job in informing and helping their members. They'll help guide you in what can be difficult times.
Mario, thank you for your time. We really appreciate it.
And thank you for your psychiatric help. That was really beneficial too, Max.
look, whatever I can do to help.
I'd rather do this over a beer, to be honest.
Well, let's plan for that in the future.
All right, thank you.
I really enjoyed that interview with Mario, and I think the things that Metricon are doing to stay open for business during COVID-19 are great. Things like social distancing on site, display home tours by appointment, and the use of digital tools for sales and marketing. What I really enjoyed was just hearing about some of the great business advice from Mario and getting a glimpse at not only the beginnings of Metricon, but about how they planned and managed the situation with COVID-19 and how they're still looking towards the future as a business.
That was a very interesting interview, Max, and I think, Mario, it's always good to understand how a building company started, and there's always a good backstory, and Mario's story is a great one. But certainly one thing I picked up on was, I guess, the larger the company, the more systems and processes you have in place. And by the sounds of that, Mario's capitalised on that, and the working from home and remotely looks like they've beefed that up, and that could be something for the future. And if I compare that to the smaller builder who doesn't have that infrastructure in place, that's a little bit more difficult. So that was one of the key takeaways I took from what Mario was telling us.
The big takeaway for me was how prepared Metricon were, and the strong communication within the business and the decision-making around how to cope with COVID-19 and the practical ways the business was going to work.
Yeah, look, especially a large business like that, but regardless of that, all the people in our industry that have realised what's happening and to the scale of their business, they've put the work in and had the conversations. Everyone's reading the papers and looking at social media, so we're well, I guess, across what's happening. But the sooner you do that, regardless of the size, and certainly Mario's size of his company, there needs to be a lot of communication, a lot of talk, and certainly taking the staff on the journey, because there's a lot of twists and turns in this COVID-19. And although the COVID-19 itself mightn't be affecting us, but certainly what's happening in our businesses and the economies and the knock-on effect of some of those things that where that understanding of what we need to do by watching it closely while still trying to run your business will put you in good stead moving forward.
That's it for another episode of the Master Builders Podcast. But before we go, I wanted to ask you a favour. We created this podcast so you could get the information you need, when you need it, and where you need it. Whether that's listening in the ute on the way to your job or going for a run in the morning. But now more than ever, we want to get the type of information that you learned in this episode to more builders so they can also benefit. Because we're all in this together and we need to look out for each other. So the favour I want to ask of you is to simply tell a mate about the podcast. And if they're a complete technophobe and don't know what a podcast is, just tell them it's just like the radio, but on your phone, and show them how to set it up. Because a strong building industry is good for all of us. Also remember, if you need some help or advice to help your business with what is going on at the moment, make sure you give your local master builders a call or visit our website at masterbuilders.com.au. Thanks for listening. I'm Max Rafferty, but instead of my usual sign-off today, I'm going to give the final word to Mario. Until next time.
Stay safe and have a lovely day.